Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Grebner Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamore head coach Jared Grebner. Coach, Friday night, kind of a tough one. You played a very big Pekin Dragon team. They came in, I think their offensive line would have averaged about 285 across the front line.
They were big.
They were huge. Nice crowd again, nice night at Metamore, but you had kind of a wet field, but probably played. You may not think of it this way, but at least offensively played a pretty good football game.
We did. I think that we didn't miss many assignments, blocking. There's times where we didn't get movement that we wanted to. Sometimes that was simply because of the mud. Sometimes it was because of their size, a combination of both a little bit. But overall, I thought that the offense played pretty well.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought that Garrett Taylor had one of your better games this year on the offensive side of the ball. I think he rushed for, 165 yards? Something
Might have been about 175.
175? Yeah, he had a great night rushing the football. And there were some plays that we haven't run all year. The wheel route that you got to him right after halftime. I think we got an interception. I think it was Ben Wallace that tipped the ball.
Yeah, Ben Wallace got his big paw up there.
And TJ Rising, I believe, intercepted it. And one play, actually 2 plays into it, we went up 14 points. But one of the nicest plays I've seen all year, a wheel route to Garrett Taylor. It was kind of an odd situation down about 5. It almost looked like both of them thought they were already in the end zone, and they just kind of gave up, and Garrett just kind of walked in from the 5.
No, it was a big play to start the half. Ben got his big paw up there, was able to knock the ball in the air. TJ was able to find the ball once in the air, which is sometimes hard to do when you're dropping into coverage, but he had the awareness to find it, to make the catch. And then we were able to get that wheel route down the sideline to Garrett. Garrett's got speed, some explosiveness, and he's got great hands, and so it's a great play for him. And like you said, it was kind of weird at the end. I don't know if both thought they were in, or but it was down about the 4 or 5 yard line. Garrett put a little move on, worked back inside, and it was like they all kind of stopped and looked at each other and realized, oh, okay, I got to go just a little bit farther. But bottom line is they were able to punch it in the end zone there, and it was a good start to the half. Yeah,
I thought so too. It looked like you were kind of in the driver's seat, but you got to give Pekin some credit. They had 2 really outstanding running backs. So one was very fast in Kanye Taylor, and the other one, that Tanner Sprecher, was just a bulldog. Ran the ball really, really hard, and they just kind of wore on you, and eventually that pounding kind of took its toll.
Those 2 are kind of like a thunder and lightning type of package, where Sprecher's a little bit of more of a downhill type of guy. Kanye, I mean, he can hit it downhill too, don't get me wrong, but he is a little bit more versatile on the outside. I thought we did a good job at the beginning, being able to contain their sweeps and things of that nature. But we struggled a little bit inside the tackle box, and they were able to get some of those big bodies on us, get some movement, and then their running backs were able to find some seams, and they were able to get north-south on us.
Yeah, when you say big, I think their center went 370. Is that the biggest player other than maybe the kid from Champaign Central back in about 2007?
He's the biggest player we've probably seen in a long time, and he has good feet. He's able to get off of combo blocks pretty well and try and seal off a linebacker. And so his initial movement getting off the ball, that's a lot of mass coming at you, and he's able to utilize his talents, and he utilizes them well.
I thought the defensive side of the ball, though, I thought you had a big stop late in the second quarter, right before halftime, because if they score there and tie it up, they get the ball to start the second half, and momentum might have been a little bit different. But you got a big stop down on, I believe, the 5 yard line. Excuse me. And it was, I thought, a great way to go into the halftime locker room. I believe you guys were up 21-14, or was it 2014? 22-14.
Yeah, it was 22-14. No, it was a huge play by our defense. They had a little momentum going down the field. We were able to step up, make some big plays, and then for us to go into halftime still with the lead, and then to come out of halftime and get the ball right back instead of them stealing an extra possession.
Right.
We were, in essence, able to steal the extra possession.
Right.
And so that was huge for us. Unfortunately, going on for the remainder of the game, we weren't able to keep that mojo going.
Right. I think it did set up some things for you down the road. You're playing a Washington team this coming week. Not as big, every bit as good, but not as big. And we talked about this before, that the big guys, the other teams, when they come in with a lot of beef on offense, it has a tendency to wear us down a little bit up front because we're not as big in your down tackles as we've maybe been in the past, or as big as some other teams. But it has a tendency to kind of wear on us. So you almost have to build up a lead to get teams to become more perimeter and maybe try to throw the ball or try to get outside more. But when they can pound on you, it doesn't really fit into what we're good at.
It does take a toll. We have more players going both ways than normal this year, where Pekin really didn't have any. Their running back split time. They both started on defense and split time on offense, so they were able to manage their time there. And so, they might have been a little bit more fresh as the game wore on, going into the end of the third quarter and into the fourth, because after a while that does start to wear on you. We try and utilize our talents as best we can and put guys in the position to succeed and to utilize their talents, and we kind of understand, hey, what is our potential, what are we able to do, and how can we combat some of the things that the other teams might look to do.
You're 3-2 in the Mid-Illini Conference, and you're still kind of bundled up in a big, like 4 teams: Metamora, Washington, Morton, and Pekin, kind of all bundled up there together. And I think you guys all got about the same record in the conference. And you've got a big game this coming week with Washington. So that's going to, I think Morton maybe only has 1 loss.
Correct.
In the conference. So they're kind of in the driver's seat a little bit. But they've got a big game coming up against Dunlap. So it's going to be kind of weird to see how things kind of shake out at the end. End of the day, as long as you make the playoffs, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to keep getting better. We've had a couple setbacks here and there. Kind of reminds me of the old saying, sometimes you have to deal with the rain in order to see the rainbow. Yeah. And right now it's raining on us a little bit, but we're going to take that, turn them into some positives, have a good week of practice, prepare for Washington. We know our kids will be up for it. We know their kids will be up for the game as well. It's always a good game between 2 good programs, and we're just excited for the opportunity this Friday to go back out there and play like we can.
Play your heated rival in Washington. Kind of still owe them. You beat them last year, 21-14. They're probably looking at it as a revenge game, but you have a chance to go over there and basically, I don't want to say start your playoffs, but boy, that really bodes well. You go into the playoffs with a 2-game winning streak, because you win this next week, and then you go over to Canton, take care of business over there, and kind of give yourself a little momentum as you head to week 10.
It's always important to have that warm fuzzy feeling a little bit, but at the same time not get complacent. We want to go in without any doubts, knowing what we can do as a team, and just get that Metamora train rolling and keep it going down the tracks.
I believe the other night you did come away pretty much injury-free from the game the other night. And sometimes when it's wet like that, sometimes you can get some dings and you can get some pulled ligaments. But it was a hard-hitting game, and nobody got hurt, and that's a good thing.
At this time of the year, knock on wood, we're relatively healthy for this stage in the game, and so we're glad and feel fortunate to be where we are and to have pretty much a full team. And so we're just going to keep taking it one day at a time, keep getting better, and hopefully, our health continues to be a positive for us.
You look at, and now everybody's still looking at those playoff outlooks on the IHSA website. You're still sitting pretty good shape, even with 2 losses. You're still in pretty good shape. And 5A is really kind of it's going to be very, very interesting. This is a year you don't want to be 4A. But 5A, there's some I don't want to say favorable matchups, but it looks to be, Metamora could do pretty well in the playoffs this year.
Right now we're just worried about Washington. That's the big thing. I know there's a lot of predictions out there where teams could fall. Where would they possibly go? What matchups could there be? But we really got the blinders on and have to take it one day at a time. And here in 2 weeks when that comes out, we'll see what happens and we'll roll with it from there.
You're right. Washington is the big game coming up, and there's been some great Metamora Washington games over the years. Your senior year, up until that point, all the games had been pretty much, within 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. But I remember going over to Washington your senior year, and everybody thought it'd be a 28-21, 28-22 ball game. You kind of jumped on them early and pretty much buried them the rest of the way, didn't you? 56-14.
That was a good memory. It was 35-0 after the end of the first quarter. We always kind of remember that, and it was just one of those games where, it seemed like we couldn't do anything wrong. We were ready. It was just, we were clicking on all cylinders that night, and that gave us some momentum and kind of made us realize what we could do as a team. And so, I don't think anything like that's going to happen this year, because they are a tremendous team. And we're going to have our A game, minimize mistakes in order to put us in a position to win, because Washington's always ready to go. We'll be ready to play, and we're just excited to go over there and play in that atmosphere and let the chips fall where they may.
2 things I remembered about that game was, you're right, it was 35-0 at the end of the first quarter. He scored 5 touchdowns. I think all 5 were scored by different people.
Yeah, I think you are correct. Between Andy Sanderson, Jamie Dishram that year, yourself, Matt Vogelsang. I remember Sam Elbert had an interception return. Might have got called back for clipping. That one I'm kind of fuzzy on. But yeah, Smaj Allen. There was a lot of different components, especially with the guys up front. They did a tremendous job. And it was just one of those teams that year that I was fortunate to be a part of. The camaraderie on that team was wonderful. A lot of times over the years you start to forget about some scores, you forget about certain plays, but the camaraderie of the teams and the friendships you build, the laughs you had on the bus rides, those are the things you really don't forget and that you take away from every year. And that's one reason why you love being around this group of guys this year. It's the same type of camaraderie. It's guys that you can have fun with. It's a close-knit group. It's led by a great group of seniors, and so there's a lot of similarities as far as the closeness and the bonds that are formed and the camaraderie that we have with one another.
The second thing I remember about that game was, you had a great team, but the extra point kicking at times was a little questionable. And at one time you had one of your running backs as your place kicker, and I don't know how Metamora got this, but we had it for a little while. It was the old VHS tape, and it was the Washington version of the game. And you guys went to kick an extra point, and it was only about the top of the camera only went to about 10 feet off the ground. So you see him kick the ball, and then you see all the Metamora heads kind of go down. The camera stayed there, and then the players kind of took a step towards the bench, And then over by the pylon, you see where the ball came down.
Yeah, I mean, even those things didn't turn out on that particular play. You know, those are still the memories that you guys have. Sometimes I blocked things like that from my memory. I was probably out there being the holder for that one. So some things, of course, you block out, but you know, it's the memories that you take. Everybody always has their memories from the Washington Metamora game. Whether you're a fan, whether you're a player, former player, just a community member, somebody always takes a memory from each and every game, and that's the special thing about a rivalry like this one.
Well, Coach, thanks again, and you're 5-2 overall. You're 3-2 in the Mid-Atlantic Conference. Still a lot of football left to be played. And this game, I'm looking forward to it because win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a barn burner.
You know, we know our kids are going to give it their all. Washington's players are going to give it their all. They're going to scheme well. We're going to scheme well. And it's just going to come down to small things. You know, they have a lot of weapons. You know, in the perimeter. You know, one weapon that doesn't get really talked about for Washington is their kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people line up to watch, you know, the special teams kickoff guys, but when he's booming them through the uprights on kickoffs and things of that nature, you know, he's a weapon for them in the field position game, for field goals and things like that. And so that's another thing that we're going to have to definitely be on our A game for.
Well, Coach, good luck, and we'll see you Friday night.
All right, well, thank you.
I'm going to do it for the Jared Grebner Show. See you Friday night in Washington.